Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who Review, episode number 67. We are reviewing the last two episodes of the story Flux. Yes. Episodes 5 and 6. 5 is Survivors of the Flux, and 6 is The Vanquishers. Now, in this one in particular, the main villain of these episodes are, well, the main villain of the whole series, the Ravengers, and also the Centaurans. Yeah, the Centaurans are very heavily active this season, which is something. Can you think of an actual previous series, Doctor Who, or at least a season, where the Centaurans been active for more than an episode or two? Like, they appeared in episode 1, they're heavily involved in episode 2, and then they're absent from the next 2 episodes, and they appear here heavily in the next 2 episodes. Which is interesting. So, basically, we finally, in this one, see the return of Kate Stewart. Yes, Kate Stewart. For the first time since Pierre Capaldi was a doctor. Yep. Yeah. Oh, and they have this guy called Joshua Williamson appears here. That's who the Go guy is. Yeah, he actually is a real-life person. Nikki, really? Yeah, really. I was quite surprised. Yep. Now, Kate Stewart. The last time she was seen in this series... Oh, I didn't know she was... apparently she's a Chris Chibnall creation. Interesting. But the last time particularly that the character appeared in the series was in... Let me take a look here about that one. Let's see. Let's see. In the case of TV, her last appearance prior to Survivor was actually, definitely during Capaldi's era with the Zygon invasion, which is the follow-up to 50th anniversary. I'm like, that is interesting. Well, in case you're curious, though, how many appearances has she made at this point in time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 8 stories. Yeah, 8. And only one time she's not written, only a couple times she's written by Chris Chibnall. Yeah, a lot of, basically, she only made overall like about 9 appearances overall in the whole series. Like, I didn't apparently know this looking online. Apparently, Power of the Three Witches, their debut in Return of Unit in Matt Smith's run. Chris Chibnall episode. Okay, so we reveal something interesting about Unit in this story. Yes, Unit plays a role in the final 2 episodes. Apparently, there's this guy called the Grand Serpent, which, by the way, when he's mentioned next episode, Veneer's like, wait, that name sounds familiar. Yes, the Grand Serpent. Yes, that is what this guy is called. Yeah. He actually had appeared back in Once Upon a Time in a flashback. Apparently, he summoned to the Matra, a creature from Peter Davison's run. Yeah, so apparently this guy helped form Unit, which, okay, that bit was basically, that bit of retconning is a bit weird, given the fact UNIT was founded in the 60s. So maybe lay the groundwork for it. And apparently, so it took 10 years for UNIT to become what it is. Then is Chris Terminal ignoring the events of Web of Fear? It's like, oh yeah, put referendum basically in. So you could imply in this flashback of 1958 that UNIT had been in works for quite a while. And then we jump ahead to 1967 with the general he was working with in the previous scene. He ends up killing him, finding he's an alien. And by the way, he's wearing the same general uniform that was seen for many generals back in the 70s. Yes, and then we jump ahead 1987, which that same year that, well, Lester McCoy showed up. Where he eliminates the chairman, one person who goes in position, eliminates him the same way, but snake his body. And he assumed the position of the chairman of unit operation of the whole world. But not of the UK operation. That's still under control of the stewards. Well, Leopard Stewart, though Kate doesn't use the other name. Because she doesn't want special treatment. So when Kate already knows the fact he's an alien, that if she dares cut the funding, she'll expose him. And then this kind of explains why she wasn't active when the Daleks were here. Apparently she went dark. And she contacted Osgood. I'm like, that's interesting. Yes. You're probably thinking, who the heck is Osgood? Osgood was a character who first appeared back in the 50th anniversary special. And she's wearing the Tom Baker's scarf. Yes, seriously. She apparently, there was another Zygon posed as her. And then that led to a follow-up Zygon story during Capaldi's run. Which, okay. And then afterwards, I don't think Osgood was ever seen again. This is the first time she's mentioned since then. And, well, then we leave this up later on. Now, as for the Centaurans, oh boy. We reveal their dastardly plan because they want to use the Flux to destroy the fleets of the Daleks. Well, they want to, gather a truce between the Daleks and the Cybermen. It's like, not you, Routons. I'm like, they still hate the freaking Rutan because they think they're ugly. I'm like, okay, Chris Chibnall. Okay, that I thought was a good continuity of the fact they still hate the Rutons because they've been at war with them for thousands of years. Like, my gosh, it's a recurring element for them. They're always at war with the Rutons or somebody, but Rutons are the one people that war with the most. Like, I hate you, Rutons. What a great continuity nod that is. The Rutons. Which I think this is the first of the Rutons ever mentioned since the Centaurans returned back during David Tennant's run during the Centaurans Strange Kingdom, which of course was also the first time you had ever counted the Centaurans. Which you're thinking, wait, they never counted the Centaurans before? But what about Time Warrior? That was in the past. Like, either the Doctor didn't tell you about the Centauran Warrior in medieval England, or he did tell him and completely forgot about it. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. But, wow, the Rutons. Alien species that has appeared... If you think about it, they've only appeared twice ever in the history of Doctor Who. Once in the Horrifying Rock and in a spin-off... In a spin-off material. That's basically it. Yeah, they appear in the story didn't feature any companions. Apparently they decided to have their war continue a battle on a cruise liner. Yes, seriously. I'll eventually review the spin-offs in the future. So, basically, they want to use... Oh, and by the way, they infiltrate the ships, the dog alien ships, where they've been there since, episode 1 of this whole entire series. And apparently, they took time to kill every single person in this entire species, except one. Yes. I'm like, that's interesting. And of course, basically, he's on a ship with Bell. And of course, with the Centaurans here, which is interesting, the fact that it's like that. So, by the way, that plays a part there. So, and then the Doctor is, well, by the way, the whole thing with the Doctor, oh boy, turned Weeping Angel, surrounded Weeping Angels, basically just because they felt like it. And then she turns up again, and then she wakes up, and apparently she's in the Vision headquarters. Which they reveal where the heck this place is. And the Doctor's been looking for quite a while. So apparently, it's headquartered in the Void. Now you're thinking, what the heck is the void? The void is a space it's explained in Doctor Who mythology. I think the first time it was mentioned, if I remember correctly, was actually toward the end of series 2. And I think it was a creation in the series by Rusty Davies. Yes, according to the void, it's also called hell or the howling. It's the space between universes. Now, in other fiction, it could be many different things. It's normally nothing there. But apparently the Vision's headquartered there. And also there's an Ood there. Like, that's interesting. An Ood working for a division. That's new. Now, you're thinking, what the heck is an Ood? The Ood is one of the new alien species they introduced during this whole entire era of Doctor Who. Like, I believe they first showed up when David Tennant was on the show. Excuse me, but if you're curious, are they a creation of Rusty? Because let's see. The Ood. Terracin 8. Okay, so they're not the creation of Russ Davies. Let's see. Because the first appearance of the episode, well, that was not the first appearance. So, the guy who created the Ood is someone named Garth Roberts. But technically it was still Russ Davies' era, so I'm sure Russ Davies did kind of prove it, but basically Garth Roberts did basically just, well, prove the creation of them. Yes. Though there was a prelude to the story, The Impossible Planet, which is written by Matt Jones. So, yeah, the Ood are one of the new species. This is, I believe, the first time they've appeared in this era in quite a while. I think the last time they appeared was in the story Hell Bent, which was back in Series 9. And if you're thinking who was Doc that one, it was the 12th. Yes, that was back in 2015. So, when they appeared, they actually appeared in another story. But prior to this two-parter and the previous story I'll talk about in the next episode, yeah, it had been some time since they last appeared. How long? 2 years. But prior to that, 5 years. Thinking, really? 5 years? Yes. Seriously. Do not know why in the world that basically it took a while for them to return, but that's basically what happened with them. Yeah, them along with the Jadoon are two new species creations who appeared occasionally. Now, a lot of the only other new creation I can think of who actually people would know about when it comes to New Who, aside from the Who and the Jadoon, are the Weeping Angels, which this series uses the Weeping Angels, the Jadoon, and now the Ood. Which, good on the part of Chris Chibnall to do. Basically, bringing a lot of the new aliens along with some of the older aliens, though we're going to see a return of a classic alien in the next series of stories. I do appreciate him doing that for his last series, because the Jadoon made the return in the previous series of the show, which, God praise him for that. And here, we have Return of the Ood. Okay, cool. Now you're probably thinking, is there any other major aliens they created for New Who that's been reoccurring? The only one is the Silence. The Silence only appeared a few times. They were never a major threat. They only appeared in one series. I think the last they appeared was, they did actually return toward the end of Matt Smith's run. Mostly the recurring aliens for Matt Smith, but they never fought the 12th Doctor. So, yeah, they were something that Steve Moffat introduced that just occasionally appeared since then. Yes. So, in the case of these two stories, so the Doctor, when she's at the Vision, she meets up with the woman she met with a couple episodes ago, and she does ask her about what the Master told her back in Timeless Child. Is it true, what he said? And I'm sure a lot of people who watched this episode must have basically been punching their TV and hoping the fact that the Master was lying about this. So apparently everything he said was true. Yes. And the woman who had popped up is the director of the division. Well, the current one, anyways. And so she is responsible for creating the Flux. Now, the way I can interpret what she's saying, the way Chris Chibnall writes this character, is that she created the Flux out of sheer pettiness over the fact that Doctor left her organization. That's it. That's what I can tell. That's what I can interpret on screen. She created this out of sheer pettiness because the Doctor dared leave us. So we're going to destroy the universe because the Doctor left us. I'm like, that's a stupid reason. So they want to destroy the universe, but keep some genetic material there. And unleash a second Flux. Yes, a second one. And here's the strange thing. A lot of planets are basically destroyed, or just have planets. All of them except for Earth. Because the Doctor had foresight to have an alien species form a shield on the planet protected from the Flux. Which, yeah, that was a smart move. And at least a second one, which didn't do much damage this time. So, they decided to also use some tunnels, which basically have been teasing for a while. We finally get a chance to see what Jonathan Williamson has been up to with these strange tunnels. And to lead the various different dimensions. The Grand Serpent, basically, her obsession with going after Kate Stewart. Because she just dared to cross him. Now, what happened to Unit, per se? Don't know. They only appeared in episode 5. Yeah, which is strange. So, and of course, basically, he's dealt with pretty easily in episode 6. Where, oh yeah, by the way, how Doctor leaves the division headquarters, takes the little pin off, and she gets scattered in 3 different places. Like, part of her is in division headquarters. We have another part of her which reunites with Yaz, Dan, which of course they were in like a different time period, thanks to also finding the TARDIS. By the way, the TARDIS actually kept in this tunnel for some reason. Yes, they mentioned that the TARDIS was found in this main village, which, okay, if this is the 60s, if this is 1967 with this TARDIS, okay, here's a question I'd like to ask. Did Patrick Troughton's version, did his TARDIS take a futuristic TARDIS in the area? Because that would be a question mark even for, like, here's a question for Chris Chibnall. Chris Chibnall, you do realize that 1967 was Patrick Troughton's era. And having that TARDIS there, doesn't that, and they also mentioned something about post office, like, now you're probably thinking, this is set before or after the events of Invasion? Possibly, because Invasion was the debut of Unit. The Invasion, of course, I view it as one of my favorite stories, Classic Who. It's basically the 7th invasion of London, which is, well, they reference that in New Who, in one episode, which that was a lot of fun. So, basically, like, so Kate is like leader of the human resistance. Though, here's the thing about Kate. It's great to see her. She doesn't do much of anything. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, you bring her in, first time in, I'd say about 4 or 5 years, and you have her do nothing. Yeah, it's the many ways I have with her. So, then, of course, the Doctor piecing together. We have another version ends up on the, same ship where the alien dog and Belle are. So they go to Chile. Yes, Chile. Why down there? Because of a dark camera that apparently Unit's got for some reason. It's supposed to see so no one else can see. Okay? So, the Centaurans also invade the planet. Yes, they invade the planet. Again. They just did this in episode 2, but that time they were trying to conquer all the time of the planet. Here, it's basically just conquering modern day stuff. Okay. So, basically, when you use humans to find out where the flux of it is, and they use Claire, first time she's been seeing the thing since episode 3. So she and Jericho reunite. That's Professor's name. So child name for a while, which I do appreciate the fact the guy's around since episode 3. Yeah, actually since episode 4. He's been around for like 3 episodes. I'm surprised he was around for more than 1 episode, because normally if this character is not a companion or someone associated with unit, they don't appear more than 1 episode. I thought that was kind of interesting. And basically he meets his end quite interesting. I'll get to that. So, and of course the doctors, well, the 3 of them anyways. So it's kind of a multi-doctor story, the last one. So they have one group go after to see what Kate's up to with the doors, and deal with the Centaurans, and they have one go after, well, the passenger, which they reveal he got basically sent inside the passenger. Meets up with Diane, who was a friend of Dan's, who was captured by the passenger. Though he meets up with her, and apparently what happened to the people inside the passenger is never explained. It's like people inside and they just disappeared. Like, are they dead? Don't know. So they manage to get out, send a signal to the doctor. Doctor basically comes inside, gets him out, and of course Vera reunites with Belle, which that was quite nice. Oh yeah, and she reveals to him, because they're life partners, she's pregnant with his child, and he's so happy. Yep. Oh, by the way, Grand Serpent is dealt with by basically exiling him to an asteroid in space by himself, just because he's petty. The Centaurans, so they take the Lagaris fleet, and they basically trap the Daleks and the Cybermen. Like, oh, we're gonna protect it from Flux. Nope, we're gonna just protect ourselves. We're gonna basically destroy the Flux that way. And then of course Dr. programs them to basically destroy, not only see where we see destruction of the Dalek fleet, the Cybermen fleet, but also the Centauri fleet as well. Jericho himself meets his end. No, not Chris Jericho. The Professor Jericho meets and takes the Flux. And of course, Dan tries to ask the same one for a drink. He's like, no. And then he goes to hang out. He goes to travel with the Doctor with TARDIS. He's kind of part of the crew now. He's been part of the crew since like episode 2. So, goes to his room. And oh, by the way, there's also this watch introduced, which supposedly has her memories over time with the Vision. So she gets the watch after the Ravagers are basically just slaughtered by Salvation, this time thing, who transfers into the Doctor. It's like, oh yeah, you can go, but your time is going to be coming to an end soon. Yeah, that is just teasing the end of Joe Wicker's run, which only has 3 more stories left, and this is her last series. Though she does have 3 specials left. Yep, which we'll discuss those in a future video. I'll probably discuss those tomorrow. So basically, the Flux has been defeated. So Belle and Veer go off with the dog alien, when one of the versions of the Doctor talks to him, he does remember the Vision really well, but he cannot talk about it. If he does, he will die in 3 seconds, because there is a device in his head that leaves poison. I'm sure they're probably going to remove that at some point. I think that was a really stupid idea. Then the Doctor, after looking through the thing, we don't see what her memories were when it comes to the Vision. So after she gets the watch, which has a symbol of Gallifrey on for some reason, then she opens a piece of the TARDIS console after Dan and Yaz leaves. Says, I want you to put this in deep part of TARDIS, and make sure I don't find it unless I really need it. And that's probably Chris Chibnall basically probably realizing, though, the whole thing with the Vision was a bad idea. And this is a way of basically just put it on the shelf and may not mention again. But what I think they will probably bring this up again in the 3 specials that come afterwards. Who knows? We're going to have a lot of fun with the next ones, because basically the next story that comes after this one is Return of the Daleks once again. But we're going to discuss another Dalek story next Doctor Who review. Yep, but next up is a Comic Corner and another Doctor review. And then it's on to Mashuka Tensei. Okay, let's do. Bye.